Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. As always, I am Phil Perich, joined by...
Charlie Esser!
Alright, I got the huge stack of comics this week, so I'll start us off. My first book is Captain Marvel number 4.
Yay!
It picks up, again in space, on the space station. There's an alien ship incoming, and so Captain Marvel and her team are on a holographic call with Phil Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Panther of the Ultimates, and Rocket Raccoon of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's getting around this week.
Yep. But it's basically they're saying, she's telling them, these aliens are targeting anything Kree, anything even with a hollow star on it. And Coulson says that's not their only problem. The last data transmission that they got from the Alpha Flight space station had a virus hidden in the code, a real nasty one. It's infecting the Ultimates computer too, but it hasn't gotten to the Guardians yet. And they're talking about, I guess, the station's compromised, so they're going to blow up part of it. And for some reason, I'm guessing this is going to kill whatever this virus is and give Captain Marvel most of her powers back. So they're evacuating the station. They have incoming aliens, so Captain Marvel and Alpha Flight go outside of the station, and she has her powers back, so they're taking out ships, and but the big ship they're waiting for is still a couple minutes out. They captured one pilot, and they're checking out his ship. But Captain Marvel's interrogating this alien, asking him, why is he attacking them? And he says, "You wear the symbol of Holland." She's like, "Yeah, it's a weird story. She's, I'm human, not Kree. No one aboard the station is Kree." And I guess the alien doesn't believe him. He's like, "You destroyed my homeworld. You killed them all." She's like, "It was the Kree destroyed your homeworld, not me." And so that's why he's saying they're gonna obliterate. They're gonna annihilate the Earth.
The Kree caused so much trouble.
Yeah, and she's like, "If I were Kree, why would I be treating your injuries?" And he's like, "I can't explain that. You murdered my family. We will destroy you." And then she's telling him, "Well, it's too late. The Kree homeworld is gone." He's like, "It's a trick." But the rest of his people are coming, so I guess as a sign of good faith, they patch him up and they put him back in his ship. And he's like, "Why?" And she's like, "'Cause we're not the enemy." And she's like, "If I return you, just tell your people, what we did, and we're not the enemy." She's like, "Do we have a deal?" And he's like, "Yes, we have a deal." So they send the ship back, but his people start targeting his ship, and they're like, "Well, tell them that's their guy." But they blow up their own guy, Charlie. And basically, they're just like, "Okay."
These are not nice people.
Yeah, they were already went to plan A and B, so at the end of the issue, they're like, "What do we do now?" And Captain Marvel's like, "Go to plan C."
That is the normal operation, although it would have been funny if she said, "Do D." And then we were like, "What? We're skipping C?" It's like, "Yeah, it's going to save C in reserve." There we go.
Yeah, but it was a good issue. Give that a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
And some more space stuff. My next issue, I'll go to Nova number 6. Once again, picking up from last issue. It's all over the news that 2 Novas were fighting a monster near the high school. But meanwhile, we see in the gym that remember Sam's dad turned out to be a clone, but he basically started caring for Sam and his family. But then a second clone of his dad shows up, who doesn't care because he's here because the Chitauri want both Nova helmets, and the clone took the dad's helmet, but he wants Sam's more powerful black helmet. But as soon as the evil clone's about to attack some bystanders, Sam grabs him and flies him out of the school. Then his dad, who was passed on the floor. Well, the good clone wakes up and decides to run out, hijack an empty school bus, and follow Sam and the evil clone, who crash land in a shopping center, causing all kinds of damage. The evil clone takes a hostage, and Sam says, "Do you want to fight me or just hurt people?" And the clone's like, "Yeah, no brainer. I want a good fight. So they keep fighting. They're flying down the street. They crash into a movie theater where the good clone of Sam's father catches up to Sam, and he's telling him, you need to get him out of town. Get him back to the mine where I was working. It's abandoned now. So Sam comes out the bad clone again. They go flying. And bad clone's like, what did he tell you? And Sam's like, that I've been holding back. So he was hitting the bad clone. Then he lets loose with a giant energy blast that basically blasts him down to right outside the mine, because the good clone's like, oh, I thought the fight was going to go a lot longer than that. So the bad clone's down, and they say, they're going to get the Avengers to lock him up. But then the good clone, quote unquote, the good clone takes Sam's dad's helmet and flies off because he said he's going to find Sam's dad for him. And I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's been lying to you for months. You're just taking him at his... Just because he's acting nice, you're taking him at his word that he's not, stealing the helmet. I don't know. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the issue, everyone's outside of the school, after the big fight. And Sam's friends who've been, suspicious of him for months, basically come to the conclusion. They figure... Well, at least one of his friends figures out. He's like, don't you guys get it by now? He's like, it's freaking obvious. He's like, Sam's Nova.
Wait, his friends didn't know that?
Well, he didn't tell them. Yeah, no. Supposedly they didn't know, but one of them figured it out.
I thought all the teenage kids all had, their best friends in on the secret nowadays.
Nope. Well, I guess he's going to now, but yeah, before he wasn't.
Although that leads to a funny joke in, actually I think that's Standoff, not this one. Yeah, the next Standoff Omega in the preview. It's a good reference. We'll discuss it later. But anyway,
okay.
Yes.
But another good one. Thumbs up. And all right, next I will go to Extraordinary X-Men number 9, part of the Apocalypse Wars.
Oh, good old Apocalypse Wars.
This one kind of backtracks a little bit from the end of the last issue, because it shows when Colossus and the students materialize in the future. So day one, they get there, and basically they see a giant pyramid with Apocalypse's head on it, and they're like, uh-oh, does this mean the X-Men all we lost the fight?
Pretty much.
Yep. And then Apocalypse's horsemen come out, which is basically somebody in a Venom symbiote, Deadpool, Man-Thing, and some version of Moon Knight.
None of them were mutants, interestingly enough.
No, because I guess they were... I'm trying to remember if it's... Looking to see if it's this part or not, but they basically tell them that mutants died out because, I guess they weren't, survival of the fittest and all with Apocalypse, and they weren't strong enough.
They weren't as fit as they thought they were.
So,
not quite so superior now, are you?
So, Colossus tells the kids to run, and they're running, and they look off the desert, and, basically, the Earth is gone, and it's just, a bunch of different territories and, giant glass globes.
Welcome to Kandor.
Then it shows day 6. They're looks like in some kind of swamp, and they meet some looks like a little winged, cute little demon creature thing. Because they're like, where are we? He says, this is Magica. This is the domain of the Scarlet Queen and all that is mystical.
Wonder Town.
He is Mugum. And he says, I'll help you get where you're going for a price. He's like, well, can you help me find dinner? And they're like, yeah, sure. So, he's walking them through, and he's like, that way is bad. That is where the werewolf by nights live, and you do not want to go north. North leads to the world of New Atalan. No mutants there. Mugum thinks, yes. Just the further up this path is the waterfall that runs backwards. When you see that, you turn left and keep going. That way lies Atlantis. Then you can cross over to the world of the computo things. So basically he's like, they're like, yeah, we found these little, what did they say? These little lizard things that taste like chicken. So would that be good enough for dinner? He's like, no, you misunderstand. When I said I wanted you to help me find dinner, he's like, you are dinner. And he basically grows and tries to eat them, and they run to another. Yeah, they keep running, and they flash to day 28. I don't know if this is like the Atlantis territory, but they're like basically floating on an ocean.
Okay, sure, why not?
Yep, wondering where the X-Men are. Then they flash.
So Apocalypse only has like the one territory, and then you go to a different globe, and it's a different.
I don't know if he presides over all of it, because then they flash to day 68, and they're basically in I guess the technical, Mogum was talking about the computer things, but
Himtown.
Well, no. A robot seems to form itself from the ground, and it says, "Who are you, and why have you come to Stark Self?"
Oh, Stark Self.
And they're like, Stark Self? Like Tony Stark, Iron Man? They're like, is Iron Man here? And the robot says, the flesh of the Stark father died long ago, but what he built lives on. We are Stark Self. We are the last AI.
Oh, and they're like the Warlock, because it's the self-friend,
I guess, yeah, but they're basically telling them where they're like, we're with the X-Men. And the robot's like, X-Men, you are mutants? And they're like, yeah, but we have these 600 embryos we brought from the past. We're trying to keep safe. And the robot's like, this is forbidden. You are forbidden. Apocalypse will not allow this to stand in Omega World. You must leave. And if you stay, we'll have no choice but to destroy you. And they're just like, whoa, wait, slow down. Omega World, is that the name of this giant spaceship thing? Maybe we can just help us get home to Earth. And the robot says, Earth, you don't understand. This is all that is left of Earth. Here, Apocalypse rules all. We are not permitted to assist you, or we will be executed.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and the robot tells them, this is AD 3549. This is Omega World. When Apocalypse rose again in the early 21st century, the great trials began. Entire races, entire civilizations were wiped out. It was survival of the fittest. Apocalypse's endgame. The Atlanteans, the Inhumans, the Stark Self, the Wakandans, the Mystics, and the Moloids. These are the finest. These are who remain.
Yes, the Moloids survived. Because the Moloids, they're the possums of the Marvel Universe. You can kill as many of them as you want. They just breed more. There's always more Moloids. That's why really Molmad is the most powerful supervillain if he ever actually coordinated himself.
Oh, yeah. But it's so weird because they ask the Starks for help and they're not going to help them, but then they beg them and they're like, I didn't think emotion would work on a robot, but they're like, the Stark father was an ally to the X-Men, and we have calculated that he would also wish to be an ally to you were he still flesh, no matter the cost. And then they're like, the machine men will assist you, and then you must go. And a bunch of machine man looking things pop out of the ground.
Yay!
And then it's just them going from territory to territory. And they're basically here almost a year because it gets up to day 361.
Yay!
But then the X-Men show up like they did at the end of the last issue. But then Colossus and Apocalypse's horsemen show up because I guess, Apocalypse is taking control of Colossus because at the end he gets Storm by the neck and he's like, everything you've been fighting for it is over. You had your chance and you failed. Mutant kind ends here, so says Lord Apocalypse.
Yay!
And then I know all new X-Men are getting in on this, but I don't know where they're at or how they're getting in on this.
We'll see. It'll cross over. You watch.
Oh yeah, it will.
Well, don't remember. Don't forget. What's his name? Beast is all getting into magic now, so he's going to use the Eye of Agamotto to open a time portal to the past, but he wants to go into the future. What? Oh, wackiness! It doth ensue.
But it's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
All right, Charlie, okay. It's your turn.
Okay, so let's go from Extraordinary X-Men to Hyperion, and the big thing across with the radioactive symbol for the O. So we open up with Doll and Hyperion. Oh, actually, no, we don't open up with Doll. That's just the cover. Doll, Hyperion, and Little Dog saying, "We need a lift." So we cut to these two teenage kids in a car making out as some creepy-looking guy shows up out the window, and they're like, "Wait, what?" The girl is actually somewhat intelligent and says, "Wait, you hear that?" And he says, "I hear my heart." Says, "Shh, you idiot! Shut up, jeez!" And then all of a sudden, out of the air vents comes worms. Cut to high above Valentine County. Dahl and Hyperion are flying across the sky over some cornfields, and Dahl says, "Wait, that bus stop, go back." And Hyperion says, "Okay, great. I'll leave you here. You catch the next bus. I'm done with you." And then she says, "No, I just came here for the dog." And she's got a cute little puppy with a little blue thing around its little blue scarf around its neck, because he doesn't have a collar because he's a stray, but he still likes to be fashionable. And Hyperion's like, "Well, great, you and the dog catch the next bus. I'm out of here." And she's like, "What? You can't leave us here. Come on." She says, "Hey, I'm your responsibility now. Those freaks come back, and you might come back." Says, "You tricked me, doll. This is not my fight." He says, "I didn't trick you. I needed your help, and you helped, because that's what heroes do. At least take me to get some food or something. I'm hungry." And he says, "I cannot take both you and the dog." He says, "Oh, really? Because you're nobody special, and you don't have any superpowers at all to speak of. See, last I checked, less than an hour ago, you used a tractor trailer like a baseball bat. So I'm kind of maybe sort of having a hard time believing you can't carry a girl and her dog while flying through the air like a freaking rocket ship." And then the dog comes up and licks his face and says, "Fine, we can go get something to eat. I know a place." Meanwhile, at Valentine County Correctional Facility, Mr. Hardican comes to bail out his circus folk. Turns out the guard's part of the group because he's got a little tattoo of some eldritch symbol on his wrist that says, "Well, just let your boys go on their own recognizance." And out they come, and he says, "I'm only pulling you out of this human urinal so that I can, that is county lockup, so you can answer one question. Who did this?" Cut to Dahl eating food, the doggy outside. No dogs allowed, apparently. He wants some food, too. They'll get to that. Mark is over on the phone telling his bosses, "I don't know what." This is Dahl talking. And, "Sorry, Mr. Sprocket, I used my apple truck as a baseball bat again. Boy, howdy, is my face red. Won't happen a third time." Which you can imagine happens. She says, "But the question is, why does he bother pretending to be a truck driver at all? And doesn't he have a cell phone? And do you think he knows Captain America?" Yada, yada. And then in walks sad-looking dude who says, "Any news from the cops?" Says, "No, nothing. Cops don't know a thing. Not even sure it was a murder. Candace, my little girl, just left like that in that car." So anyway, Mark comes out and says, you're all paid up. This should conclude our time together." The waitress said there's a bus station nearby. She says, "Yeah, about that. See that crying dude inside the diner? That's Dave. His daughter was murdered last night. At least he thinks. Cops don't know. I promised our help finding the killer." Says, "You mean my help?" "Hey," she said, "Hey, I'm no slouch. I can help. The only thing you're helping is helping me into another mess. This isn't my problem. Who exactly do you think I am?" She says, "I know exactly who you are. Mostly, generally. This is who you are. You're a guy who is pretending to be a truck driver, then really he's a super ultra mega hero. You're running from something and I have no idea what, and I don't even care. And what I care about is that people need help. I need it, and you help me. And now that guy in the diner needs it too. So you're going to suck it up, and you're going to do the right thing, Mark. Time to put on your fancy pants and hero up, handsome." She says, "Fine, I'll look into it." Anyway, they go to the car, the crime scene. He does a DNA scan with his eyes on the worms. They have human DNA in them. They follow a path to a house. The door is locked. Mark says, "Not to me." Rips the door off its hinges. They go in. The place smells office. It smells of worked dirt and human composition. The dead girl's DNA is here. Not just hers, from others too. This is the killer's dwelling. And he says, "How do you know that? You can just see her DNA. It's a gift." Anyway, then they get attacked by Worm Boy, which she realizes is part of the carnival. And then Hyperion tells doll to get out as he is attacked by worms, and they are tearing him apart, they say. And that's the end of our issue. Next issue, Worm Boy, the Crawling Menace. Real good book. Thumbs up on Hyperion. You know, I really like their take on the Hyperion character. Like I say, it's that petulant Superman character from the DC comic books, but with a slightly stronger moral code and an actual reason for his petulance. You know, he's kind of in a more adult place of having seen a lot of destruction and death and trying to find his place. So I totally get him. You know, I always feel that one of the problems with DC is that when they want to explore these things, they reset it to explore it, but you know, discount the old back history. And it's like the back history is what feeds into this moment. You know, it's like it's the Superman trying to find himself, that's Superman after a lifetime of being Superman. And then it's interesting because he's like, I've been Superman my whole life. What does that even mean? You know, you can't just come in to the first movie and say, oh, and now everybody hates each other, so they're all going to attack. It's like, but why? What was everyone's motivation? We don't know. Just look at the punching. Anyway, so that was Hyperion. Big thumbs up.
All right. Then I will go on to Totally Awesome Hulk number 5.
Yay! Guest star?
Oh, the Enchantress, but someone else shows up at the end, but I'll get to that.
Okay, didn't get that.
All right. So we get a flash from 3 years ago of Amadeus coming home to his Uma and Appa, I guess what he calls his mother and father, but the house explodes, killing his parents. Which they reveal was him dreaming and remembering that because he wakes up in the Sierra Nevada, and his sister shows up and she's asking him what he's doing. He says he don't know, he just woke up there, and she's like, you hulked out and ran out in the middle of the night. And he's like, I did. He's like, I didn't hurt anyone, did I? She's like, someone broke into a barbecue joint, ate 3 pigs. He's like, okay, cool, no problem. She's like, no, big problem. She's like, you checked out, but someone kept driving. I want to know who's behind the wheel. So they do some tests. She's firing some weapons at him and try to get him mad. But then she shoots him in the face. And she goes, you mad now? And he goes, abso-freaking-lutely, but I'm still me. Then they're having lunch, and he's like, dang it, you know I don't like jalapenos. She's like, I know, you mad? He's like, grr. And she's like, this isn't working. She's like, maybe we should talk to Stark. And he's like, Tony Stark? And she's like, no, Chucky Stark. Of course Tony Stark. And he says, Tony Stark's the guy who wanted to teleport the last Hulk into the negative zone. She's like, okay, fair point. She's like, what about the last Hulk then? If anyone would have any insight. He's like, we're not going to bother Banner. I freed him of the Hulk. I'm not going to bring it all back to his doorstep.
Oh, and, that's interesting.
Uh-huh. She's like, yeah, but Banner manifested another personality, a Hulk that referred to him as Puny Banner, a Hulk that did all kinds of crazy things that Banner himself would never. And he's like, but I'm not Banner. That's the whole point. Banner's anger issues are off the freaking charts. He's had massive trauma his whole life. And she's like, and you've had your own trauma. She's like, our own. And she starts talking about their dead parents. And he's like, I'm not Banner. And he's like, I thought you were supposed to be on my side. And she's like, I am. And she's like, it's the other guy I'm worried about. So then they have show 200 miles west.
And he's starting to refer to him as the other guy.
Well, she did.
Oh, she did. Okay, I thought he did.
Yeah. No. But they show him walking through the desert as Amadeus. He comes across, I guess they're 2 wild dogs, but then someone calls his name, and he looks up, and who's there? Amora of Asgard, the Enchantress.
I wonder if the dogs are supposed to be a callback to Kirby, which was his old wolf, if you recall.
Yeah, kind of, and you'll see what they're used for. But she says she has a proposition for the Hulk, and he says, okay, no offense, but I spent enough time with Hercules to know that the arrival of a beautiful, magical stranger isn't usually a good thing.
This is true.
And so basically she offers him to, she says, I can make you my king consort, ruler of the 10 realms. And he's like, no, he's like, I'm the new Hulk. He's like, I just roll in, smash the bad guys, and roll out. And she's like, you hate this world, you hate the humans. He's like, wrong. And she's like, don't lie to me, I walked in your dreams, they killed your parents. She's like, and all you've ever wanted to do is crush your enemies and bend the world to your will.
By the way, I do love this scene in this because she really does call him out for thinking that he's any different than Banner, which I thought was just a pretty awesome way for the awesome Hulk to play it.
But then they show that image he keeps having, of him in the car, and first the Hulk was in the trunk, then in the back seat. Now the Hulk's sitting in the passenger seat next to him, and she's just like, "Let it out," like all the power you desire is inside you. Just let it out. She's like, "Show me the real Hulk," and he's still fighting it, and then but she creates two giant like cement creatures out of the road. And he's like, cool, and he hulks out and starts fighting them, and she's like, stupid boy. She's like, did you think you were the target? And she sends them after the dogs, which makes him mad. So he starts growling, and then all of a sudden you see the image of the Hulk take the steering wheel in the car. So
yeah, that's who's driving.
He saves the dog, he smashes the creatures, and she says, Amadeus Hulk, are you ready now? And he just like grunts, and she's like, beautiful. Then it all goes black. He wakes up on the road, and his sister finds him, and she's like, he's like, I was just taking a nap, and she's like, I was tracking you on the satellite. She's like, you were standing in the desert, and then you just started punching rocks, and he's like, the Enchantress, she made me mad, and then I don't. And then all of a sudden, Charlie, a bolt of lightning comes down. Cocoon.
Yes.
And of course, who is it?
It's Thor.
Yep.
The one true Thor.
Last page, he's like, don't let me interrupt you, mortal. I'd love to hear about Amora's plans to conquer Asgard. Straight from the mouth of the creature she calls her champion. And Amadeus and his sister both go, oh, crap.
Classic.
But really good issue. Big thumbs up.
Hey.
One of my favorite issues of this to date.
Okay.
Maybe the favorite. And then, more punching. I will go next to Power Man and Iron Fist number 3.
They do like the punching.
It starts off, Luke and Danny are at Luke's house, and they're talking to Jessica, and she's yelling at Luke for ruining I guess in the fight last issue, he ruined the shirt that she got him for Father's Day. And she's like, what the bleep is going on? Do you think I'm a fool? And he's like, no, I don't think you're a fool, baby. You're the smartest person I know. And I know Reed Richards.
He does. He used to be in the Fantastic Four. People forget that.
Yep. And she's like, I'm not stupid. I saw the video of you two fighting Gorilla Man and Black Tarantula.
Gorilla Man.
Yeah. And she's like, I know you and Danny are trying to start up Power Man and Iron Fist again. And she's like, no. He's like, we're just helping a friend. And he's like, he's in the next room. We can hear you. And Danny's like, it's my fault. He didn't want to be a team again. And then Luke's putting on another shirt. And she's like, no, not that shirt. I got you one for your birthday. She's like, I'll find you a shirt. And then so basically they tell her what happened in the last 2 issues about how Jenny Royce, their old office manager, got out of prison and came to them and told them, Tombstone stole a necklace belonging to her grandmother. But they got it back for her, but it was all set up. Because a nun told them so it has to be true.
Oh, boy.
So they say they got to go out and find Jenny and Black Mariah, who she's palling around with, whose real name is Mariah Dillard. But basically, meanwhile, Jenny and Mariah, I guess they're tearing up the town because they hit some kind of club or something, and they're basically stealing everybody's cash and jewelry. But I guess the necklace is driving Jenny a little crazier and crazier.
Man, magical necklaces do that.
Yeah. So
don't call it the Super Soul Stone for nothing.
But Danny and Luke are trying to track her down. But since the necklace is mystical, it's the Super Soul Stone. Who do they go to for advice, Charlie?
Doc Strange, I'm gonna guess.
Yep.
Because it could have gone to Dr. Voodoo. That would have worked.
Yeah, but he was like, I'm glad that the word of your reunion is true. And Luke's like, we're not really back together. And Danny's like, cool, you had a mystical vision and that we were back together as a team. And Strange is like, no, I saw a post on Twitter as well as that video of you two fighting Gorilla Man and Black Tarantula. Quite impressive.
No, it is never impressive when you fight Gorilla Man.
But so they ask him about the Super Soul Stone, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm unaware of any such thing. And they're like, what? He's like, Danny's like, I told you there was no such thing as a Super Soul Stone. And Luke's like, you sure, Jock? Growing up in Harlem, everyone knew about this thing. And Doctor Strange is like, there are forms of lesser magic, unproven manners of mysticism to befuddle the untrained and unaware. Perhaps your Super Soul Stone is this type of magic, street magic or okie dokie magic, or some other form of inferior parlor trick.
Whoa, that's real mighty whitey of you there, Doc Strange.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, dude. Not cool, Doc Strange.
Well,
you get enough of this stuff for your movie, buddy. You gotta watch that language.
He says, though, he's like, there are many forms of the mystical arts as there are martial arts, and no practitioner of either can master all, nor are all worthy of mastering.
Yeah, which again says,
Mm-hmm.
your little Super Soul Stone is all. It's all fine. It's like that abundant love that Howard the Duck sought out.
Yeah. But since Doctor Strange is no help, Luke says he knows a guy, so they go to. I never heard of him, so I don't know if you've heard of him or if he's new, but Signor Magico, a wannabe master of mystic arts.
That's the first I've heard of him, and oh god, this has got like some of the. I get that they're trying to do like a 70s redux, but not everything from the 70s needs to come back. That's all I'm saying. And Signor Magico. Yeah. Okay. He doesn't wear a sombrero, does he?
No.
Okay. Thank God.
But, yeah. But Signor Magico tells them that he does know the Super Soul Stone. It's very dangerous, creation of street magic, conjured from an old spell from the book of Anansi, the Yoruba trickster.
Yeah.
The stone provides untold power to whoever wears the sacred markings and recites the conjuring spell, but here's the thing. It can only give power to someone who is weak. Someone with strength could never access the power. This is the work of Anansi, the trickster.
Yeah.
But the power corrupts, takes over the mind and body again. The work of the trickster. This is what makes the Super Soul Stone so dangerous. So basically, like, the stones, it's driving Jenny crazy, but then Danny and Luke find two of Tombstone's men who've been tailing them. But they're basically like, we don't want any trouble. But they follow them back to Tombstone wants to talk to them, so they go back to Tombstone's headquarters. But Tombstone's getting his butt kicked.
Bye.
Black Mariah and Jenny are there, and let's just say as the issue ends, Jenny doesn't look quite human anymore.
Getting all lizardy.
Yeah, it looks lizardy or demony.
Yeah. Because I think down the side that's like a snake god. They did some stuff with them in the X-Men for a while, but they were tied to the Serpent Crown, as I recall.
But it was a good issue, even with Signor Magico. So thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, technically it just means Mr. Magic, but
yeah,
he didn't have a luchador's mask, did he?
No.
Okay, so they avoided the biggest trope, so we'll give them that. But yeah,
yeah. All right.
Okay.
So and then I'll jump to Astonishing Ant-Man #7.
Yay!
Which, if any of you are like Charlie Esser and you're more of a fan of Cassie Lang than Scott, don't worry, she's really not in this issue.
Good.
Yeah. Basically opens up with Scott and Raz setting up, basically his whole team setting up security for Darla, and Darla's basically like, it looks like they might be getting friendly again, but Scott gets a call from his ex-wife and has to take off, and basically Darla finds out she didn't plan this, but I guess the whole conversation with her and Scott was recorded for her new reality show. Because the woman in charge is like, she's like, don't feel too bad. Wasn't that the guy who dumped you without so much as a phone call?
I really don't like the way they're dealing with Darla in this series.
Yeah. But basically, so Scott goes to his ex-wife's house, and she tells him that Cassie's gone. And she's like, we've been fighting. She was grounded. She's like, but she's been through so much with dying, losing her powers, getting sick. But Scott finds the hench. I don't know if it's like a business card or something. So basically, she tells Scott, she's like, I'm still furious with you over the disappearing act, but find Cassie, bring her home safe. You can start to put stuff right. So Scott, he sees the hench thing. He's thinking, okay, power broker. So he's going to another party that Power Broker's having downtown, where he's basically showing off the hench stuff again, because he throws some guy in the one of the pods and basically creates the new Plant Man, who looks like some kind of half plant, half lizard thing.
Because we needed a new Plant Man.
Yeah. But Scott shows up, and he's like, you took my daughter, where is she? And basically Power Broker wants Plant Man and Ant Man to fight, and he's like, Plant Man, you up for your first battle? And Plant Man's like, you kidding? This is gonna be amazing. I hate this guy. Plus our code names rhyme. No way are we not gonna be arch enemies.
Why does this guy hate Scott?
Well, I don't know if he's just this is the first time he met him, so he really shouldn't. But I don't know. I guess the power's going to his head. He traps Scott in a Venus flytrap until he calls in the ants, and basically has them help him take Plant Man down. But he takes Plant Man down, and Power Broker's like, bravo, Ant-Man, really, if you were on Yelp, I'd give you a fantastic review, but your social media presence is actually quite poor, which is unforgivable, and he zaps him with those blasts of his out of his hands. He's like, I did not abduct your daughter. He's like, you're mistaken. He's like, and I can't wait to see her face when you learn the truth, so until then, catch you on the next update. He says, Scott's like, I know he's lying, and basically, that's when he has a confrontation with Machine Smith and Grizzly, when they tell him that they basically took another job, and because they needed the money, and they say they were working for Cross, and he's like, what? I can't believe it. I trusted you guys. And he tells them they're both fired. And then Machine Smith's like, now before you do that, you're gonna need our help. And so he's telling them about how Cross is behind the Lackey app, which is the competitor of Hench app. And basically, the only time you see Cassie in this issue, they show him security footage of Cassie breaking into Cross Technological. They're like, your daughter wasn't abducted by the Power Broker, Scott. She's working for him. And and Scott's like, we have to get her out of there. And they're like, security's way too tight and everything. And Scott says he needs serious reinforcements. Where is he going to get a whole team? That's when he pulls out the hench card. And it looks like he's going to bring in more villains. Who is this on next issue's cover? It looks like The Voice. Is it The Beetle, maybe? Somebody else.
Okay. That's
so
fine.
May Cassie might be next issue, but yeah, except for some security footage, she wasn't in this issue, so I knew you wouldn't mind missing it.
Yeah. But how do you like it? Thumbs up or?
Yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's been a little better than some of the previous Scott issues. So.
No, it's fine, man. Like I said, I just I'm over it. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving right along. Let's do. See, do I want to do a standoff? I'll hold off my standoff issue for the next one. Let's do Howard the Duck 6. Da-da-da-da. So this is part 2 of the Squirrel Girl Howard the Duck crossover, Animal House crossover finale. Now, just as a point of order, this story takes place between the end of the last series and the beginning of this series. So basically, this happens either before the world ends or some point after the world was recreated. We're not quite sure. And that's the fun of it. So when last we left our characters, the Beast, Craven the Hunter, Howard the Duck, Squirrel Girl, Rocket Raccoon, Biggs the Cat, and Weapon 2, which is a little squirrel Wolverine, have been captured by Shannon Sugarbaker, who is a cosplay billionaire, because she wants to hunt creatures that are somewhere between humans and animals, because you can't just hunt humans. And if you're a human-animal cross, then it's a legal gray area, which probably it is not. They're very much playing up the Kelsey Grammer version of the Beast here, because he is very, very, very full of himself, talking about how he is, a founding member of the X-Men. And if people do not understand what would happen if they were to harm a founding member of the X-Men, yada, yada, yada. Basically playing with his big bro heart, which didn't really sit well with me per se, although it does provide a great contrast with our low self-esteem Beast in the all-new X-Men. Anyway, Shannon Sugarbaker attacks. Howard and Squirrel Girl run off. Craven and Rocket decide to hold Shannon off. There's a great scene about how Craven managed to catch Rocket, which is that they just happen to be at the same underground arms dealer, because the Earth is the easiest place to buy guns in the universe. Anyway, Weapon 2 is currently fighting Shannon Sugarbaker, and eventually gets his healing factor isn't quite as much as he would have liked it to be, but he gets swallowed up by the Earth. Then Howard gets an idea, has Biggs the Cat dig into the ground, because he realized there must be underground passages, because the Beast, when he gets knocked out, gets sucked up by the Earth, as did Weapon 2. So they find a pathway into an underground area. They see the cosplaying Doombots picking up the wounded people and taking them back. They sneak back through the tunnels and come up in Shannon Sugarbaker's library. She says she's going to start executing the survivors if Howard and Squirrel Girl don't show up. Howard shows up in her secret cosplay uniform, which is basically all DC reference characters. Got like a Batman v Superman armor, Superman cape, a Hawkman mace, and what appears to be some sort of Green Lantern-y ring. So a fight ensues. Eventually, Rocket gets a gun. Is upset because it's just a web shooter. Craven throws Squirrel Girl at Shannon Sugarbaker. They take her out. They're captured. Craven realizes that he doesn't want to hunt animals anymore, which is kind of interesting. He does a whole turnover of new leaf, which probably made him real upset when he wound up in Pleasant Hill anyway last issue. But anyway, cut to a flash forward. We see Tara and Howard meeting Doreen and Nancy, and Mew and Biggs meet up and become friends, apparently. And Tara's upset she missed all the fun, but that's okay. They're all going to agree to be friends. Howard has a new catchphrase, which is "Case closed." And the last thing we see is Craven the Hunter attacking a fisherman, because he's decided to become a hunter who hunts hunters. A fun, jovial book as always. A thumbs up for Howard the Duck, Squirrel Girl crossover. Although I have to say, I don't think Howard and Squirrel Girl cross over quite as well as Howard does with with more mainstream books. I think Howard does his best work when he's up against more serious, less metafictional characters. So, but still a fun read. I think the Howard is always better when he's fighting with the Collector or the Silver Surfer or Rocket Raccoon.
Well,
so we did get a nice little bit of Rocket in here.
Cool. All right, then I will jump to All New Hawkeye number 6. Picking up once again from last issue. It starts off with the flashback. Young Kate's being held hostage by Matador and his men. Matador's calling her dad and telling him, basically now we can rethink our deal. And because he found out who she was by reading the diary in her backpack. But then Kate picks up her backpack and smacks Matador in the head with it. And then she's like, you should never read a girl's diary, jerkwad. And she takes off running. In the present, Kate, Hawkeye, and, Kate, Clint, and Barney are ready to take off with the kids. But Hydra shows up, so they have to fight off Hydra. Back in the flashback, Kate's running from Matador's men. But then, as one's about to get her, as she's like leaving the warehouse, an arrow comes down and hits the guy, and she sees Clint Barton for the first time as Hawkeye, and she's thinking about how amazing he is. But then as another henchman's about to get her, an indestructible shield hits him, Charlie, and the rest of the Avengers show up. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and she's thinking that they were amazing, but of course they were amazing. They're the Avengers, and she's like, but they aren't like him. They all have superpowers, armor, and stuff, but him, all he had was a bow and arrow. Amazing. So back in the present, they're fighting off the Hydra goons so they can take off in the plane. One's about to like choke Clint to death until his brother Barney shoots the Hydra agent with an arrow. Then back in the flashback, the cops are taking Matador and his men away. And Kate's father picks her up, and he's asking her about what she told the police, and she's like, "Don't worry, Daddy, I lied for you." And he's like, "No, it's more complicated than you know." And she's like, "Really? So you're not teaming up with supervillains?" And he's like, "No, when you grow up, you'll understand." And she's like, "No, don't give me that." She's like, "I didn't tell the police about you, but I won't lie for you again. So maybe from now on, it's best that I don't know anything about what you do, and you don't know about what I do." And back in the present, they get the kids back to Barney and Simone and her kids. And Kate's asking Clint, are they going to be... It looks like Hawaii. So Kate's like, are they going to be safe here? And Clint's like, well, I'll get the Avengers to put in a good security system. And basically the rest of the issue is just them standing on the beach talking about, where are they back together as a team. And Kate's like, she took the name Hawkeye because she wanted to be like Clint, and now she just wants to be more like her. And basically Clint's telling Kate that she's his best friend, and she says, "You're still my hero." So I guess they're staying together as a team. Yeah, I guess they're staying together as a team, but according to the letters pages, I guess this is the last issue for now. Like, they didn't come out and say it, but I'm guessing there's going to be some form of another Hawkeye book, but from the looks of it, maybe after Civil War 2.
Yeah, well, maybe it's going to be like Hercules, where they're going to cut into a new plot line stemming off of where they left off, or...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. Maybe this and Hercules, maybe they'll pick up after Civil War too.
Yeah. Well, Hercules has his own Civil War title called Gods of War. So there's Hercules is ongoing even as he's sort of rebranding, going from a maxi series to a mini series. So maybe Hawkeye's is going to get a little mini series called, the Archer Wars. I don't know, the Archer.
But it was good. A lot of emotion there. Thumbs up. And now I will go to that other Avenger, Deadpool. Deadpool number 10.
Hey, Deadpool.
It starts off in Deadpool's office. Agent Adsit is looking for. He said he's telling Rogue he needs to find Sabretooth, and he's like, worried something bad is going to happen to either Deadpool or Creed. And Rogue's like, oh, that's sweet. She's like, but don't worry, they're both unkillable. Even though they showed Deadpool, and he says, I feel like I'm about to die. He's like, they're in a diner, and he's like, the food was almost as terrible as the reason you killed my parents. So basically, he's asking Sabretooth, why did he kill his parents? Even though he didn't, but he's saying, I thought you could croak me. I wanted to succeed where Logan failed. Yeah, that's it. I wanted you to put me out of my misery. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, there's nothing else I can do. And Deadpool's like, sorry, still gotta kill ya. So Sabretooth takes off, gets on his bike, and Deadpool's walking out, and the waitress is like, "Hey, you forgot the check," and he's like, "I didn't forget about the check. I just wasn't gonna pay it." And she's like, "I'm a single mom." He's like, "Fine." So he gives her his card to pay. Like I said, Sabretooth's taking off on his bike. Deadpool basically just knocks another guy off his motorcycle and takes it. Basically, Deadpool starts shooting at Sabretooth, who I guess gives him a rude gesture, but we can't tell because there's a bird in the way of his hand. Because Deadpool says, "Don't give me the naughty finger. Eat a bag of ding-dongs." Then Sabretooth, there's a truck going by with a bunch of logs on it. He tries to get Deadpool with it, but Deadpool leaps over it, gets on the truck. He basically takes the trailer off the back of the cabs to speed him up because he says, "I gotta lose some dead weight." And the driver jumps out and says, "You're the boss, Spidey." And he says, "No, not you, the flatbed." He's like, "Fine, I'll drive." Then a police helicopter shows up and telling them to pull over, and Deadpool screams, "Diplomatic immunity!" He's like, "Besides, I'm like Canada's James Bond." But basically, they call Deadpool and Sabretooth call a truce because the police helicopter crashes into a news helicopter, so they go to save people in the helicopters. Basically, Sabretooth's like it or not, we're the same, and Deadpool's like, "Yeah, we're both just trying to follow the path that Logan found long ago." And Sabretooth says, "So you forgive me for your old man?" And Deadpool says, "I forgive you for my dad." Blam! Shoots Sabretooth in the head, right in the face, and says, "But not for sweet old mom. This is for her." Then he throws Sabretooth on the bike and takes off. But Adsit still wants to find them, so he goes down to Sikla's kingdom, but he talks to Michael the Sorcerer, who's another friend of Deadpool's. Basically, he's trying to get him to help him find them. Then the issue ends with oh, this is good, Charlie. The issue ends with Deadpool. When Sabretooth wakes up, his legs are tied to a tree and his arms are tied to the cab. I guess he's gonna pull Sabretooth apart, and Sabretooth tells him, "Pulling me apart, it ain't gonna kill me." And Deadpool says, "No, that's just for fun." He says, and then Deadpool pulls out a container, Charlie, and says, "Killing you is what this Terrigen Mist is for.
Ooh.
This death is brought to you by the Terrigen Mist. It makes cocoons, new Inhumans, and best of all, kills mutants dead."
Dun dun dun.
Continue.
Oh, goodness.
Terrigen Mist.
Yeah.
But
that'll do ya.
Yeah, but thumbs up for that. And then I will get to, I almost picked Captain America for my pick of the week, but my next book knocked it out.
Oh my.
As if there wasn't enough Deadpool this week. Spider-Man Deadpool number 4 also came out.
Yay. Sorry, I'm just a little tired. That was not related to the book. It just... Oh, really? Another Deadpool book?
Yeah, so basically it starts with Deadpool and Spider-Man on the phone, and basically the Deadpool's saying he's adjusting people, and Spider-Man's like, "Forget I called." He's like, "No, hear that moaning? Everyone's alive. Avengers honor." So basically, I guess Spider-Man's feeling bad for Deadpool now. He asks him if he wants to hang out, and Deadpool goes, "This isn't Hawkeye being a jerk," and he's like, "No, it's Spider-Man." He's like, "The real one, not the new kid or the clone." He's like, "Yes or no?" He's like, "I'll text you the address. Wear comfortable shoes." So then they show Peter talking to Miss Marconi, and she's basically telling him, some people can't be redeemed, and she's like, "You quit the Avengers over Deadpool. Now you're gonna play bocce with him?" And he's like, "Why would you pick bocce? We're not 65-year-old Italians." And she's like, then she tells him about the Parker Principle. The Parker Principle is when Peter Parker tries to lift up a person who is unqualified to be a person. Deadpool is not a guy you can save. And he's like, everyone can be saved. And then they showed Deadpool talking to his wife, and she's basically telling him, he's like, "You can't be friends with Spider-Man if you assassinate Peter Parker." So then they meet at I guess it's a new club, Hell House.
Oh my.
Yeah. So Spider-Man shows up and he's like, Spider-Man's like, we can't go clubbing. He's like, I'm not taking the mask off. And so I guess Deadpool gives him one of his old image inducers. He tells him his alias for the night is Leonardo DiCaprio. And Spider-Man's like, the actor? He's like, no, our Leo is the respectable owner of a chain of adult novelty stores and recent divorcee. So basically, Spider-Man turns on the image inducer and he's like, he's like, oh, and Deadpool's like, what? He's like, what? Don't like the suit? It's on the cover of Maximum. He's like, and Spider-Man's like, I'm black. And Deadpool's like, I know, awesome, right? Everyone wants to be black. Black is the new black. He's like, unless you're racist. And Spider-Man's like, I'm not racist. He's like, good, because I can't stand racist. And he says, also, Jenny's profile says she goes nuts for black guys. He's like, what? He's like, who's Jenny? So, they're talking, and then Jenny, this attractive blonde, shows up, and he said that, he's like, this is Jenny, and she's like, tell me you're not an idiot like most of Wade's friends. She says she hasn't been on a date in a year and a half. She's a workaholic, and basically Peter's telling her, where is this? He tells her that he's in science, and she's like, you're lying. He told you to say that. I edit scientific journals, and so they're all getting along, and so basically then Spider-Man's like, when's Shikla getting here? And he's like, no. He's like, she's not coming. My date should be here any second. And once again, remember from earlier, Krakoom.
Oh, Lady Thor.
Once again, yeah.
Yep.
And
Thor the Worthy.
He's like, you over here, Blondie. And Spider-Man's like, Thor is your date? He's like, you're married. And he's like, top five free pass list. Pre-negotiated and signed by Shikla ages ago. And he shows him the list, which number 5 is somewhat obscured by word bubbles, but it looks like Spider-Man. Number 4 is Zombie Arthur. Number 3 is Hellcat. Under it says, if we're actually in hell. Number 2 is Thor, if he ever becomes a girl.
Oh, that was a cop-out.
Yeah.
They should just said Thor, and just let it be that.
Number 1, Charlie.
Who's number 1?
Number 1 says, Hillary Clinton, if Prez, and then in quotes, won't happen.
Well, we'll see.
And then, so Thor floats to the ground, and she says, Deadpool, what be thine emergency? And he's like, no, there's, and he's like, we got a crisis, Thor, 10 barrels of mead and no Norse goddesses to drink them. And she's like, you summoned me on the Avengers emergency band to drink mead? And he basically introduces Spider-Man as Leo. She was like, you're so tense, let's raise a glass and discuss the benefits of friendship with benefits.
Oh my.
He's like, you are familiar with the concept of a free pass? And she's like, not if Helheim froze over. And she said she senses magic, and he's like, me too, I'm crazy, I know, but just give into it while you're still a lady, Thor. And Spider-Man's like, no, I think she's talking about Jenny, who starts growling, and basically turns into this demon-y looking thing who attacks Thor and says, die, foul Asgardian.
Oh my.
And that's when Spider-Man says, Deadpool? He says, yeah. He says, how do you know Jenny? And he goes, oh, she's one of Shikla's cousins. And he's like, and Spider-Man's like, were you aware that she's an Asgardian hating succubus when you set us up? And he's like, dude, could you not think about yourself for like a second? He's like, I probably missed my shot with Thor, which I'm really bumming. So, yeah. Thor and Jenny are going at it, and basically they're going at it, and Deadpool says, rule number 1 about double dating, never bring up politics, Asgardian or otherwise. And Thor's like, after I read this plane of that monster, you and I have well words, trickster. And Deadpool says, might those words include breakfast.
Oh, Wade.
So they're so Thor and Jenny are still fighting until Thor says, "Jenny, please look down for a moment." And they both look down and realize they're standing in a mud pit. Which is
they go to Thor mud wrestling.
Well, Thor's like figures out, she's like, "You disgusting half man, you engineered a battle between blood enemies that we would fight in the mud for your amusement." And he goes, "You make it sound a lot less fun when you use terms like half man." So basically Spider-Man's he's dropped the image inducer, and now he's like, "Ladies, he's like, basically, what can we do to fix this?" And then basically cut to Deadpool and Spider-Man in their masks and underwear.
Mud wrestling?
No, Deadpool and Thor are just dancing. I guess Thor and Jenny made them dance.
Okay.
But I guess they've come to terms over this.
Okay. Very fun. It does sound like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, but basically, I guess later they show Spider-Man and Thor enjoyed them. Spider-Man and Deadpool enjoyed themselves. But then there's a scene at the end where it looks like Deadpool basically shoots Peter Parker in the head. So,
oh my.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with that.
Well,
but
ruined Otto's brand new clone.
Yeah, I know. But I really enjoyed this. There was a lot of laughs in this. Big thumbs up. Like I said, it was my pick of the week. It narrowly inched out Captain America, which I'll go with this as my pick of the week, but I thought Captain America was pretty good too.
Yes, I am inclined to agree because Captain America is actually my pick of the week. Although, came real close was New Avengers Standoff. Really like this book, so we're opening it up where we left off with the American Kaiju, Todd Ziller, fighting Avengers 5, which is a giant robot, with everyone sort of linked in minds and kind of trying to focus and differentiate their thoughts from other people's thoughts. Meanwhile, basically, Hawkeye and Songbird are getting ready as the island evacuates to do battle when Hawkeye asks her if you want to help me relive the old Thunderbolt days, and she hits him with a sonic blast and says yes. Says, "But I can't. I'm sorry, Clint." Is you okay, ma'am? And Hawkeye goes, "Ma'am," says, "I just got the word on subsonic code frequency. All SHIELD units to full active status, including deep cover agents like me." She says, "It's complicated, Clint. Please turn yourself in. Okay, I'll make sure you get a fare." And then, thwap, chwung, the Taskmaster shield hits her. Says, "It's Rick Jones, live and unleashed. And this is where I let you know I was trained by Steve Rogers." And the shield agent says, "I think he would have called the shield, wise guy." He says, "Yeah, well, I was also trained by the Hulk." And he goes, "Rick smash," and he hits the ground with his thing hand, causing a shockwave, and says, "Working thing armor gauntlet, one in a poker game. Come on." And Hawkeye says, "Wait, my bow." He says, "Forget the bow. We need to lead them away from the extraction point. But that's my superpower. It's like leaving your address book behind." Asks him if he has a bow in his bag. He says, "No, but how about Commistro's original alchemy gun?" And he says, "The same one he blew his foot off with?" He says, "Don't wait." And he turns the ground to glue and he says, "Dude, that could have been someone's foot." The Avengers 5 is fighting, and they're having a hard time maintaining. And that time, Roberto has an Mpox attack and starts coughing, which allow Tony Ho is saying the reactor is running very hot. And he says, "And for the record, I said that reactor type was too dangerous." He says, "Everything is for a reason, Tony. Trust me. Cough. I know exactly what I'm cough. And then USA is American Kaiju gets the upper hand. Hawkeye and Rick get to the extraction point where the one of the last AIM agents is standing there. I believe his name was Larry. Larry, and Larry's like, says Avenger 2 is where we do the real work on the Supreme Leader's awesome master plan. It says, master plan? What kind of master plan? It says, the awesome plan. We're going to show those S.H.I.E.L.D. creeps, show the Avengers, the high and mighty Ultimates, show the whole damn world, show them the peerless power of AIM. All hail the Supreme Leader, baby. And Rick says, that's it, I'm out of here. And he says, it's Larry, right? And says, what? The Supreme Leader is awesome. I can't help it if I get excited. He says, it's Larry, right? From Stores. You're a jerk, Larry. I'm going to, after I keep the portal open. And then, of course, realizes that there's a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents outside the door. Tells him, don't keep the doors open. Get out of here, because I'll hold them off. And he says, presenting for the very first time here on the Coney Island stage, Hawkeye, the marksman, the wonder of the age, folks. Step right up. Come one, come all. Land a punch, win a prize. That's a goldfish, sir and madam. Rick, if you can hear me, I'll keep him busy. You find a way off the island. Go run. Meanwhile, Avengers 5 is falling apart. And then suddenly Roberto's back online. He catches the fish, says, we can win this, team. We can. Let's do it. Says everything is for a reason, including the kind of backup general we were using, the one I insisted on. You said it was too dangerous, Tony, and you're right. It was a big risk, but it also was a contingency plan. On my signal, vent the gamma reactor. And, of course, that causes Todd Ziller to revert back to his human form. It also powers a quick teleportation of the team from Avengers 5. And then we cut in with Dum Dum Dugan and John Garrett, and each interrogating someone. Dum Dum is interrogating Hawkeye, who he says will be detained until the director returns, and you'd best pray that she does, and then she'll decide what we do with you. And Garrett's basically apologizing to Songbird, saying he shouldn't have pulled her out of deep cover, because now they don't know where DaCosta is. And Songbird says she's sorry to Clint, who just walks on by. Meanwhile, literally in the jungle of the Savage Land, DaCosta is lounging by the pool, drinking a smoothie, saying he never understood why villains always just had the one secret base. And then has a big hack, coughing hack, spills his drink, and then who should say, he says, got the Mpex, got you all bad, huh? Got you all bad, huh? Says, you think, take my advice, my friend. If you see a Terrigen cloud, be somewhere else. Says, well, I'll try, but I don't rightly know yet if that stuff will affect me. Don't know if I mentioned it, but I happen to be nigh invulnerable when I'm blasting. And it is Sam Guthrie, a.k.a. Cannonball. All right, old chum, enough moping. Larry, fresh cocktails, and after that, call in the troops. Operation Secret Avengers starts now. We got the AIM and the Zebra Kids and Sam Guthrie and DaCosta all ready to start the Secret Avengers, which I guess is next month. Real fun book. I like how DaCosta is totally, 4 steps ahead as a supervillain. That's always a fun way to be. Okay. How many more books you got left there, Phil?
Just our 2 in common.
Oh, great. Yay. So, what do you want to do, Thor or Cap?
Do you want to do... let's do Thor.
Let's do Thor. Oh, okay. Really like Thor 2. For a bit of a filler book, but I liked how it played out, Do you want to do the breakdown, or do you want me to do it?
You do it. I've done enough tonight.
Okay. So Dario Ager, he's sitting there saying, Roxxon's making money hand over fist. We're pumping oil out of this part of Alphaline, and we're mining coal in the other. Says, yet I'm increasingly aware of the fact that I am in league with sorcerers and giants. The Roxxon armies, hold enough weapons to annihilate any army on Earth, but we're not dealing with things of Earth anymore, are we? If Malekith should ever decide to alter our agreement, then you are outgunned. You need weapons. He says, I need allies against my allies. And something tells me you do too. Or has your father, Laufey, suddenly decided not to murder you? To which Loki says, well, he hasn't tried too many times today. So there's always that hope. Basically, they come to agreement, and Loki decides to tell him a story. And this is the main conceit of the basic book, where there is a old Viking berserker by the name of Bodolf the Black. He was a fearsome young chieftain with an unquenchable thirst for combat and glory. It was said that he and his berserkers had never lost a battle. Bodolf's secret was that he had said a prayer to the god of thunder before each fight. And his prayers were always answered, sometimes in ways he never imagined. And we see Thor showing up to basically help him beat the heck out of people. They grow to be a powerful army, and everyone says, boy, good thing Thor's all on our side, to which Bodolf starts getting cranky about, because he feels he would be king even without Thor. And one day he does not say the prayer, and his enemies say the prayer, and so Thor switches sides, and soon they are defeated. And Bodolf realizes that if he is to regain his power, he must say a prayer, but this time not to Thor, but to Loki, who sends him on a quest to slay a dragon and drink its fiery, presumably gamma-irradiated blood. And then we see Bodolf against his enemies, and then he has a Hulk out. Roar! Says, Ymir's bones, what manner of magic is this? Whang. Says, such power, never felt such. Waboom. Says, humph, puny god. And this is why it pays to pretty Loki. I do love making dreams come true. So, yes, Loki created a Viking Hulk in the ancient past, and is going to do something similar for Dario Auger to make sure to earn his loyalty. Enjoyed it. It was a great filler story. It doesn't move the story particularly along, but it does give us a great sense of Loki and his history. And I, for one, am still waiting for that heel face turn back for Loki, because we know he's going to save the day. He is Loki the hero, even if he is also the god of lies. Okay. Which brings us to my pick of the week, Sam Wilson, Captain America, case number 8, Standoff.
Yeah, this was almost my pick of the week.
Yeah, it's very good, but one of my favorite parts of this book is also one of the parts that I'm like the most not sure about. But we open up with Sam and Bucky talking it out, talking about Cap being back. They say it's a good thing his hearing's back. I was getting sick of repeating myself. Basically, he touches base with Sam about, I've literally been where you're standing. I only had this shield because the other guy was gone, and now he's back, and yada, yada, yada. And basically, Steve says we have to find Kobik. One of the most powerful beings in the universe is a scared child hiding somewhere in this town. If that power falls into the wrong hands, it could be the end of reality as we know it. And cut to Baron Zemo, not happy with his latest round of henchmen, Jack-o'-lantern, Bushwhacker, and Cutthroat. And he says, you guys are all supposed to be trained trackers, and you can't find the cube. And he says, Cutthroat says, Jack's right. Fact is, kid probably got freaked out and flew off into outer space. Says, no, Cutthroat, I highly doubt that. And he says, why? Because it is not part of the plan. That's why. The plan is simple. When Hill and Rogers arrive, stage a revolt and take hostages, wait for the Avengers to show up, and broadcast to the world their defeat at the hands of the Cosmic Cube. Except I don't have the cube. And it's like, it's a moment like this that makes you go, really, Zemo? You're saying the cube must still be here because that was your plan that the cube would be here. This is your problem, Zemo. You're not adapting your plans to the situation at hand. But anyway, and he also says, he says, the Avengers are on their way. Claw is ready to broadcast it to all. And the Fixer is ready. And the Fixer says, I am not ready. And says, Fixer, how many times have I told you to not contradict me in front of the underlings? Says, you want me to lie? Fine. You asked me to build a trap for Kobik? Something to end its absurd sentience. Make it a cube again. Useful. Right. Well, that's a tall order. That takes some time. And you didn't exactly give me the best lab assistant in Trapster here. Says, hey, you ask me to get you water, I get you water. You tell me to stop tapping my foot, I stop tapping my foot. We're making progress. This is a containment unit model up the one S.H.I.E.L.D. used to house the cube fragments. We only need to get close enough to draw Kobik in. Like the Ghostbusters, but in terms of reverting the fragments to their original state, I'm close, but we didn't exactly have our ducks in a row when this whole thing kicked off. Says, well, perhaps I can just ask Steve Rogers and the Avengers to come back at a later date. Yes, explain to them that we're not quite ready to lead a bloody uprising after all. You don't have to get snarky. And then, of course, who should arrive but the Zookeeper? Which part of me kind of hoped that was actually just a supervillain called the Zookeeper, like some old Spider-Man villain. But no, it is actually someone else.
Yeah, I figured it was Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, well, I thought it might be, but as I said, he just turned over a new leaf. He was a good guy now. But I guess Maria Hill doesn't take Kravinoff's word for it. But he decides to go off hunting. They run into Mach 7, help him beat off some bad guys. Mach 7 basically says, I'm on support staff here. And they ask if she knows what Agent Kincaid, Avril Kincaid is up to. And says, Agent Kincaid, hey, if she says she's got a plan, I'm sure it's a great one. And of course, she says it's a terrible plan. Goes in there and comes and finds the Fast Five. Who are a big Vin Diesel fan, she imagines, decides to stage a frontal attack, which she realizes maybe she should have kept the element of this surprise. She takes out 4 rather easily and says, all right, 4 out of 5 down. Put it on my tombstone. And the last guy gets taken out by the Curator. Dun, dun, dun. Man, who do you imagine the Curator is? Because he seems awful mysterious for just some S.H.I.E.L.D. guy. I don't know, man. And I wonder because she's gone to the museum to find the one thing that can solve our problem. Some great mystical item that is locked away, hidden in this Pleasant Hill Museum. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, Kraven is being followed by Fixer and Trapster, who are carrying all the boxes. And he says, I was told by Zemo that you would keep up. Says, maybe you had Zemo should have gone over the luggage. Maybe you and Zemo should have gone over the luggage allowance. And then he said, no, besides, here we are. We're here. He says, I don't see an omnipotent paddler. Says, the winged tigers of Kunlun, the gamma wolves of the gamma wolves, the giganto. Do you know how I caught them all? With bait. Now help me unpack these things. Says, Feb says, I don't get it. Says, that is because you're an idiot. We have set our trap. And what better trap to set for this being than a children's birthday party? With a tea set. Nice touch. Says, oh, I wonder who will come to my party. Who will have tea with me? Who will open all these presents? He says, now what? Now we wait, as he puts on a birthday hat. It is a delightfully silly meta moment that makes perfect sense in the aggregate, but makes you go, okay. No. Anyway, Mach 5 or Mach 7 goes off to get high enough that he can send a broadcast to S.H.I.E.L.D. for help. Cap gives Sam back his shield because he says, dude, it's your shield. I told you, no strings attached.
Then he says, you're Captain America no matter what happens. That doesn't change. But meanwhile, next month we're getting a book called Steve Rogers Captain America.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it has all the Captains America and, Agatha Harkins. Harkness as Sharon Carter. Because they don't know how to draw normal people. She's only 12 years older. She's 42 at most, you know?
Until they de-age her again.
Yeah. Well, no, that's going to be like a whole thing they're going to do because she's going to be feeling all old and decrepit. Says, when we were both relatively old, even though he was 80 and I was 42. Marvel, just sometimes just don't. Just don't. Anyway, yes. But so he gives him back the shield because, you know, he gets the fancy shield. Cap's going to have to settle for a secondhand shield. But that's okay. He says, you know, take back the town. We're going to need a whole army. And he says, it's not going to be just us, Sam. We've got something better than an army. 2 Avengers teams. Yay! Yeah. 2 Avengers teams, 3 Captains America. Don't mess with them. Big thumbs up. It was my pick of the week. You know, it got real meta. And like this is something we're going to talk about in Super Connectivity, whether or not comic books are getting a bit too meta of late. Because maybe just the books I pick, but it seems like every book I pick up, it's got this like a little winking at the audience. Even if they're not breaking the fourth wall, there's like stuff that's just like, okay. You know, yeah, I've said that about New Avengers with all their references to, you know, just all the tropey, campy references they make in it. And, yeah, it's all interesting. That's all I'm going to say. But that is all of our books, and only an hour and a half in.
Then that is your extra long all new Marvel Roundup. But we've done enough talking. If you want to share your thoughts with us, which you should, or even review a book that we didn't review, email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook, we're all new Marvel Roundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup. Our shared Instagram is World's Finest Roundup. And Charlie, where can the people find you?
Well, if you'd like to tweet along with me as we live tweet to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Legends of Tomorrow, The Incredible Hulk, and any other show that I happen to feel like tweeting at that time, do so at Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And you can always write to me in the good old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com.
And you could always discuss anything Marvel or DC with me. Email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. Twitter is @nightwingpdp. Instagram, Periscope, it's all nightwingpdp. Check out my YouTube channel. Just search Phil Perich, and you'll find every week you'll find a preview, like a video preview of the books at least I will be reviewing for Marvel and DC. But you can find everything at philperich.wordpress.com. Woo! All right. Woo! All right. Is that it then, Charlie?
Yeah. Till next week, when I have 9 books.
I probably have a good. I don't know if that many, but I have a good bit too. All right. Please send us your thoughts, feelings, tantrums, and join us next week. But all I got to say to end this one is, Marvel, you're killing us. You're killing us. Good night.
Good night.